I'm
Hey,
here.
welcome back, everybody. Of course, you know me. My name is Dr. Keith McNally. This is the Question Guy podcast. We're actually in season 4, so double thumbs up with that. I am here with Anthony, and I know him as Grandpa Stork, but Zoom forgot his last name. Anthony's going to give us his last name, but this is a really important conversation. I have had it with only a few people because now we're going to take a look inside of ourselves, and Anthony's going to do some self-reflection because he's an entrepreneur. And in order to step into that role, you have to make some personal transformation pivots. Anthony, tell us your story. But first, tell us your last name.
My last name is Hall, and thank you, Keith. It's so great to be here on the Question Guide podcast, and I love the questions that you ask, and I thank you for allowing Grandpa Stork on here on your show to chat with your folks here. And so yeah, my story. Okay, Grandpa Stork. Well, let me set it up for you. Grandpa Geek went down in the creek to build a flying machine. With sticks and stones and coconuts, for 3 years he wasn't seen. He came back up as Grandpa Stork, and on a dragon he was flying. And in the immortal words of Josie Wales, he said, "Get busy living or get busy dying." So that's my little introduction. But so I love stories. I'm a storyteller. I'm a grandpa, and my journey began really 19 years ago when I witnessed the birth of my grandson, Nathaniel. So my first grandchild, I had witnessed the birth of my daughter, and now to watch her become a mother and to welcome Nathaniel into the world. And it was transformation. It was transformative for me. It was transcendent, actually. I mean, I'm holding him in my arms and I'm transported through time, and I'm thinking about my life and what my life has been up to that moment. And like a lot of us, I found myself wanting to do more. I look back at being a father and not being the kind of father that I imagined having the fun, but being caught up in, all the things of parenthood. But this time I had another chance, I felt, and so I'm transported through time. And my background is in IT. Since 1992, Silicon Valley's been my playground. But one of the things I realized is that I hadn't given back. I hadn't tried to mentor any other uh, young black men or women who were interested in coming to the field. I was just doing my thing, traveling around the world. And so when I'm holding my grandson, I'm thinking, okay, all right, I can do more. I can be more for them. And so having that background in technology, and I'm holding my grandson, I'm on transported time, and I'm like 50 years in the future. And so almost the 2060s, and I'm thinking about what will life be like for for my grandson as he's holding his first grandchild? What will be education like? What will the state of the world be like? And opportunities for my grandchild, for my grandkids.
Hmm.
And what will the world be facing? So in the 2060s, the USA and former USSR will be celebrating the centennial of their space programs. So that'll be in the news. It'll be celebration of all the space tourism and space colonies and all this stuff going on, mining and debris, cleanup and all that stuff. And so, but the thought came, what about my grandchildren? What about the children of Africa, of the other world? Will they be a captive audience? Or can they aspire to be captains of industry and enterprises as humanity takes its next grand voyage into the stars? And so if Grandpa has anything to say about it, I'd say, okay, then that's going to be my focus. How can I help prepare a legacy? And so Grandpa Stork is an acronym, and, and kind of go back a little bit. So I'm inspired then to do something for my grandkids. And so as a technologist and thinking about all the things I learned in the field, even though I didn't go to university or study computer science in school, I happened into it by accident, but found, kind of my calling there for the past 31 years. And so my thought was, how do I help my grandchildren, other kids, or kids at heart like myself, who might not know what their talents or gifts may be in this field of IT,
Hmm.
if not for exposure. And so Grandpa loves games. And so I founded an organization called the Rose-of-Education organization, a for-profit, socially responsible enterprise, which is a space tourism industry startup with operations in education, entertainment, and exploration. And so Grandpa STORK is an acronym for space tourism, Operation Real Kids. Real kids are those ones that grandpas, like my grandkids and other ones, like myself growing up and around the world, want to make them believers and help them to discover and cultivate and nurture their talents so that they can aspire to these careers. Not only
Well, let me ask you a question real quick, if I can.
Sure.
What I know the transformation started when you were holding your grandson, but what was going through your heart, your head, your spirit that said, I needed to do something? Because you said, I needed to give back, because that wasn't
Right.
even your motto, but
Right.
something changed within you. What happened when you were holding your grandson?
Well, it's again, that the change. Well, the change was that I promised that I would do more and that I would be more, and
Right.
so the idea, and so that was in 2004, and so from 2004 to about 2010, though that whole idea was mulling over, and so actually in 2007, I moved from California to the Midwest, and so traded a 0.11 of an acre and $2,000 a month a mortgage for 3/4 of an acre and only $300 a month of mortgage. And plus, we had a creek in our backyard, so that was the creek that Grandpa Geek would go down into. And so when I moved there, and that whole change was transformative because instead of having to commute every day and been in the hustle and bustle of traveling through Silicon Valley and traffic and dealing with all those things, I now have the peace and time and quiet where I could, I was one of the OG work from home mafia. That's what Grandpa is. That and started in 2007. But how important it is to take that time, and so I was allowed and had the freedom of the time where I could spend all my time down in the creek, even and answering phone calls, sitting on a bucket under a tree with a creek rolling by, and be as productive as if I was in an office. And that then started to change my thinking about what about education and how education could be the same. But on that journey of down in the creek and quiet and trying to figure out, okay, what can I do? What specifically, and having the time that sometimes we don't give ourselves, even the time to sit out for 10 minutes outside just with our eyes closed, just to not think. But that allowed me then to kind of really focus on, okay, how can I tie in what I do as a profession, what I'm passionate about, games and fun and education, but then also how can I tie those all together into something for my grandkids. And as I started going through that process and delving deep, because ultimately I'm developing games really for myself, for the child I was, for the 9-year-old kid I still was inside. And along that journey, then I came to discover that, there's some blockages. There's some things that, as far as, my own relationship, because part of this journey was a journey, and what I've been doing is a journey of self-discovery and reflection about, how can I be better? How can I do better? And in all those ways, not just as society tells us, but what about that heart and spirit, or that little child that I'm still inside? What still hasn't been resolved for that person that I am still inside? And so that discovery of joy and games and playing also kind of led to an understanding that the relationships maybe had with my parents, my brothers and sisters, my ex-wives, my children, everything that I had to view these then from a more compassionate, viewpoint, and also from a viewpoint of that I have to take responsibility for everything. If I'm going to give this my all, if I'm going to, view and try to model a life that I hope my grandkids will find some value in. Hopefully that what I leave behind and what everything that we do online today is our legacy that we leave for our loved ones. And so how mindful of we of that what we say and do online will, once shared with them and once it's all compiled and they're doing AI of our personalities, okay, this is what this person's talked about, but not really knowing the truth of that.
Well, let me ask you the question then. What kind of legacy do you want to leave, and what kind of legacy are you currently leaving the world?
Well,
What
I
is your
guess
impact?
okay, I would say hopefully that the legacy that I'm leaving behind is for my grandkids is to just imagine that just with and to be curious that with just our imagination we can turn a coconut into a virtual reality dragon flying platform and fitness game and so that's really I think that's really what it's about, but also that about how imagination opens doors, not only metaphorically but physically, and how when we bring imagination and compassion into our everyday being, into our manner of living, then that is part of that transformative process. And so what Grandpa's trying to do is just is playing games. And so the games that we've been developing, I've been developing some games for my grandkids that have technological concepts, but one is based upon how to teach my grandkids coding and programming, but I didn't want to learn coding and programming, and so it's like I didn't want to learn Ruby or Python. And so what's wrong with the language we speak? What's wrong with the English language? Can I teach my grandkids how to code just using the letters of their name? And so that's one of the games we've been developing and being able to model and pilot at different schools around the world. So for the past 9 years, I've been traveling, develop these concepts, these play-based learning and innovation concepts to help increase not only literacy rates, increase health, wellness, and fitness, but also increase participation in the STEM education fields, where that's, really vastly, really, it's not getting a lot of, it's not very accessible to a lot of kids, especially when you're in the slums of Nairobi or in New Delhi or in the mountainous villages of Kilimanjaro or South Africa. And so I've had a chance to kind of test these concepts, simply with just pen and paper, chalk and chalkboard, or a dragon flying fitness game to really kind of get kids up and moving and think more about their body and being more active, and to reimagine how games can be developed, not just with a mind to I'm going to teach you this and you're going to be, this experience is going to lead you to a predetermined, outcome, but something that really engages that really, inspires the imagination, ignites the intelligence, and informs the individuality of the player, of the individual. I mean, and I consider, when I say kids, real kids, I mean, I'm a kid, because you're still a kid. And so the legacy then would be that the power of play and the positive power of words that we use. And so both these games really meant to how to bring in, really tap into not also our native compassion and curiosity, imagination, but how do we better serve humanity through our gifts, through our superpowers, through things that we have to offer, and that it's our responsibility to share that in a meaningful way.
And I think you have, because you said that you are now an entrepreneur. So you've taken the power of creativity, the passion and compassion you have for other people, as well as the need to make an impact. You do it as an entrepreneur. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, and so that's, I was thinking about that, and so one of the things that kind of I heard and that really stuck to me was that we can either view the world as our prison or as our playground. And so I'm all about having fun. So, but the idea that we can view the world as our playground, that the life is a game, and that, that the thought, the power of play to change, our outlook on life. And so, so Grandpa built a big playing field, it stretches from here to Mars and 50 years into the future. And so
Wow.
that's Grandpa's playing field. And so what that allowed me to do then is to incorporate all of my interests, all of the things that I varied, things that I'm passionate about, would be, to basically to create a game for all of me, that for the athlete and the artist, the scientist and the seer, all those things that I have expression through this effort to, build a international launch pad to, for our space trails, space tourism and ambitions. And so that's what we've been doing. And so that what that has allowed me to then that every conversation that I have, every place that I go, all I'm doing is now is fitting in the pieces of that vision that kind of came to me it came to me fully formed in 2010 when it first came, the idea for the space tourism operations and the Eden 3 Mars colony, and even the date. Hey, by the way, you're invited to Trail's 50th anniversary. November 24th, 2060 will be the 50th anniversary. Grandpa will be 101, and I plan to be flying in on my dragon. Say with dragon, it's on a Grandpa, on a dragon he was flying. Well, I couldn't find any dragons, so Grandpa's building one, and
Wow.
be of our space tourism offerings. And the stuff that we're doing now is really for research for the things that we want to provide, the games and maybe exotic, kinetic energy propulsion systems for exotic, a flying surfboard. That's what Grandpa is really building. Flying surfboard. I want to moon the International Space Station or carve craters on the dark side of the moon, but not like sitting riding, but so that's Grandpa's plan. And so that's just how we get there.
Well, I like that. I like that very much. And I do appreciate the invitation. And so with the amount of time that we have left, I want you to motivate, encourage, and speak to those people who are creative by nature and who want to step into the entrepreneurial field or the arena. What words of wisdom or at least motivation would you give them as they transition into that space?
Okay, good one. Dream big, play hard, give back, and have fun. And really that's kind of Grandpa's recipe for going through life. Dream is like dream big or go home. There's no sense. I mean, we have the whole world, there's no sense of thinking that dreaming small, and when we dream big, we can include everyone. And play hard, of course. We love hard, we live hard, and having that outlook of play, of enthusiasm, of curiosity, we begin to look at the world a lot differently. Doors open when we view things from that positive standpoint. And giving back, that's just really that is in our nature, this nature of service. And so when we give back, especially of our gifts, and without any even thought of return, but just for the joy of sharing and seeing someone else respond, I mean, that's what gives real value to life. And have fun. Hey, enough said. Just have fun. So whatever you're doing.
Anthony Grandpa STORK, I appreciate your time today. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for this conversation. For those of you
Thank
who are out
you.
there watching and listening, this has been another edition of the Question Guy podcast. Join me in conversation, and I'll see you next time. Take care.
All right. Thank you, folks. Ciao.